Hello, good evening, and welcome to episode number 12 of the Intellectual Forum Happiness Club. Today's topic, as you all know, is the pursuit of happiness. And no matter who you are, no matter where you are, or what you do in life, without a full mental, emotional, and physical detox, you will experience constant pain, frustration, and emptiness. And how does it feel now to have a mental clarity, an inner freedom, and a sustainable happiness? I believe it would be wonderful. Today, I have the pleasure to have with me Larissa Redaelli. She's the happiness master coach with over 28 years of global corporate executive leadership experiences. And above all, Larissa is a dear friend and the fellow author of the upcoming book, HAPPYDEMIC. Today, Larissa is dedicated to spread the message she was born for, she believed she was born for, after surviving 3 death episodes. And now, are you craving for a fulfilling life? Through her upcoming book, HAPPYDEMIC, Larissa puts all her passion and experience and to help people achieve a fulfilled life away from pain and suffering. Hi, Larissa, how are you?
Hello, Huda, and thank you for your introduction. Amazing. You make me feel even more important than I feel so humble being. I hope audio is good, because when you were speaking at some point, the audio was a bit making some noises.
Now you hear me?
Yes, perfectly well.
Okay.
So I will be sharing with you what you just now spoke about, which is our HAPPYDEMIC upcoming book, my book, which is actually under editing with Passionpreneur Publishing. So I'm all yours for questions. I'm really excited to be with you on your show.
Great. Larissa, I don't know, it is written that my speaker is not working. That's why I'm asking if you hear me.
Now I hear you perfectly clear.
You hear me good? I hope yes. All are hearing, everybody's hearing me. I don't know why it's making like this.
Before there was some splashes, but now it's okay.
Okay, so no need to make the voice louder or so.
No, okay, it's fine.
Shall we start?
We start.
Yeah? Great. Yes. Larissa, please tell us more about your story and the major events in your life that changed the person you are today.
Well, because we don't have a lot of time, because that would be a long one to tell you about my story, but I have tried to make it as small as possible to make it clear. There are 3 major events that happened in my life, let's say in the beginning of my life. I am Swiss Lebanese. My mother is Swiss and my father is Lebanese, and I was born in Beirut. The major events that happened in my life in the beginning, the first one was, unfortunately, my family spread out. So my father and mother had got divorced. So you have all what comes with a separation of a family, with not a good separation in the sense. Then you had several events that came along due to the war. As our listeners, if they are aware of what happened in Lebanon, so I am a child of the war. So I was born a little bit before, but I was living it throughout until I decided to leave. So a part of the violence that you have around you and all the fear and insecurity, stress, because of all what's going on in terms of the war, I went through some harsh abuse, be it verbally and be it physically. So that is another side. But what is mainly important to me, and I want to make the message today, what made me write my book, HAPPYDEMIC, were 3 important episodes that enlightened my mind. The first 2, I was not really aware of the meaning and why did it happen and why am I still a survivor. Let's say we are still miracle of lives because we are here in the world. So that's the first miracle, we are born. I had a car episode bomb when I was around 17 years old, and I survived this car bomb. The car that was blown up was 2 cars in front of me, and I was nearly the only survival in this street.
Thanks God.
The second episode was a bomb that fell, and I got fragments of it. Unfortunately, my friend died, and I survived. I still have just a scar in my body about this, and obviously in your mental and in your neuro associations. So these are 2 episodes where you wonder, you say, okay, wait a minute, I saw death. Why am I still here? why am I here? What do I need still to do? I didn't have the answers at that time because I was quite young. The last one in date was 2 years ago. And that was a big wake-up call. 2 years ago, I had a terrible car accident in Italy where I fell off a cliff in a river. And it was nearly impossible to get out humanly from my car. And I got out of the car because here I am, I'm talking to you. So a part of when you are going through this episode, like when you are in that car in the middle of the night where there's no light and you are observing or witnessing that you're being compacted in a car going backwards down a hill, and you are just saying, okay, what are the thoughts that come in that moment? I will tell you honestly, because it's like still here in my face, were my kids. First one, my son that I didn't see. I went to see my son in Europe and I didn't see him yet. So I just prayed that I see him. I didn't kiss my other son goodnight before going to bed. And I left my husband in a very hard moment back in Dubai when I was in Italy. So these were the three first flash and the screaming of, please, I don't want to die. But I was seeing it. I was saying, okay, wait a minute. When is the car going to stop compacting and the glass and the windows breaking? And my breath was like, I was hearing my heart in my brain, you know? And I was wondering, okay, am I still alive or am I already dead? And I'm just like, I don't know. I wasn't understanding what was going on. To cut the story short, I went off this car. How did I go out of this car? I can say literally it's a miracle. So I got my survival ideas because I was backwards, right? And my head was down and my feet were up and I had my seatbelt on and I couldn't unlock my seatbelt. Then I unlocked my seatbelt and I don't know with which power. How did I get out of this car? I got off the car and I just lost consciousness on the cliff with my feet in the river. And then obviously I got secured and here I am today to talk about it. Now, what does this tell? I need to tell you one thing very important. And this book, HAPPYDEMIC, is about my story. Because I believe that do we really need to go through episodes of approaching death or seeing death in front of us and then realize and say, oh my God, life is so essential and life is so priceless? Question. To be honest with you, that was my huge wake-up call as an adult after 20 years of working on personal development for myself and for others. Then I came all the questions. So why did this happen? What do I need to do? Where am I aligned? Am I still aligned with my mission? What I thought I was passionate about? What is my next path? Where am I going, right? So that was the great wake-up call. And when I came back from this incident to Dubai, I started writing HAPPYDEMIC, which has another title, obviously, but now I updated the title based to the situation we are in today.
Yes. Yes.
So I will talk to you about intuition at a later stage, because all this was already told to me before I do all this. So here I am. These are the major events that made who I am today, right?
Yes, Larissa, so you had a 3 rebirth chances.
Yes, actually 4.
Yes.
I'm a miracle of life because I was born, and then 3 others. So wonder.
So that's really devastating events that you can get through all that and still be happy and want to spread the message about the importance and how life is really priceless. So let me go to my second question. And what is the message you want to reveal to the world?
Well, you know, the message I want to say to the world, the first thing is, as I said earlier, life is priceless.
Yes.
Actually, some of us are walking dead alive. Many of us, with all what's going on in our minds, or how we create our stories and how we are limiting ourselves. And we have, some of us have big situations, some have lesser situations. We are all going through what life is, with its ups and its downs, with its goods and its bads, with the sadness and the happiness. So we really need to go through many things and many challenges to understand the importance of happiness. Because for me, happiness is not just like people tell you, how can you be happy when you go through this? You know, happiness is not only the fact of the smile and you say you are happy and, you know, like elephants are flying in the sky is blue, sun is up. No, happiness is the ability to become aware that something is not going right in your life or in your mind or in the situation you're facing, and that you need to do something about it and fix it, but you need to do it, right? So for me, happiness is it's an ongoing process. It's not something that it's destination wise. It's a journey. It's a day. It's a moment to moment. And the moment you understand the meaning of your life, this is where you are the happiest person in the world. The moment you understand your purpose and why you are here, and I can tell you with my situation, I can really confirm why I'm here. So yes, my message to the world is live your life. It's priceless. Every single second, because the second that passes, you don't have another one the same. And make the best out of it with what you can control. And what you cannot control, just accept it. So what I can control, I'll take charge of it. It's my responsibility. Nobody's going to do it for me. So I'm in charge of that happiness, if you see what I mean. So my message is, before you can spread, you need to live it, experience it, but live it, experience it congruently, not like play it, you know, fake it. Oh, I'm happy, but it's not really the reality. No, it has to emanate from the inside of you. That's how you can spread it, because you're living it, you are portraying it and projecting it around you, and you are a source, a light to others to be happy and to look for this happiness.
Yes.
That puts them.
That's true, and I totally agree with you. For those who are following us now live on Instagram, if you have any question, please do not hesitate to send your question, and we will make sure to answer them live. And we will then, I will record this episode and put it on my YouTube channel, Hoda El Sobki. El Sobki is one word, and if you haven't subscribed yet to my YouTube channel, please do it now. So allow me, Larissa, now to go to the coming question. And how would you define the word happiness? And what does HAPPYDEMIC means to you?
Okay, so if I go through a definition of a book of happiness, you have plenty of it. And as you know, today we're so lucky, by a click, you have thousands of those.
Yes.
My experience of defining happiness is I went through all these levels that we read in books, you know, like the first one that if I buy what I want or what I need, then I'm happy. I'm happy the moment I just have it. And the moment I already have it in my hands, I'm already no longer happy because I got it. So the materialistic side of happiness, the owning, the possessing, the looking or comparing to others, and I need to have the same than the other guy or the other lady, and so forth. So the things, and I think these are stages in our lives, by the way, we grew through them as well, even in maturity. So definitely things, I think all of us thought that happiness was related to things and possessions. After that, you start thinking, okay, well, no, maybe not. I need to make people happy. So you start looking at making others happy, but at the expense of someone, yourself. Because all your life, you want to be the candle for everyone and spreading happiness, and you forget that in the middle of all this, it's you. So then you say, oh my God, I need to start taking care of myself. So here comes the ego, and you start looking to make yourself happy. And then you have the comments of, oh, she's, let's say, egoistically happy or so forth. It's all a question of not going onto extremes and always being in a certain equilibrium. So yes, ego needs to be satisfied in your, like in career, like taking care of yourself with limitations already, with boundaries, because the ego is as well your worst enemy. So as much as it's a good friend, as much as it's a great enemy. And the last level is when you start transcending all this, let's say, material world, and you start going beyond. I'm not saying only spirituality wise in terms of only our religion, our God, or our beliefs, or our credentials. No, it's as well the fact that you have connected in such a way with your deepest self that I call the biggest I, the big I, which is I, me. And this interconnection with yourself together with our biggest source, which is our God, our creator, then I think this, and find a meaning to all this, and understand how you function and how you can be an architect of your life, then I think this is the ultimate. And then this is where you can sustain. But if you stay blocked in one of the levels of happiness, then it's a bit difficult to have it on a sustainable longer term. Yeah, that's my definition of happiness. So for me, to be happy really is to be able to listen to yourself, to your body. Get your best friend, it's you, it's not others. And we tend to always look outside for friendship because we are so scared to be alone. I don't know what we have a problem with loneliness. There's a difference being alone with yourself and loneliness in terms of loneliness. The fact that you can understand what your body is telling you and your mind and your intuition, this is the best you can get in your life when you are so synchronized and congruent. And I will tell you what I mean when I talk about intuition in terms of my accident, because I dreamt this accident 2 weeks before it happened. I saw myself falling from this cliff. The day I went on that car, my intuition told me, don't go tonight, stay on your sofa. And I still went and took the car. When I was driving back to my house, I had to stop to my sister-in-law with my other sister-in-law. The moment I was taking that hill up, my mind told me again, my intuition, don't go, continue straight. I went. Then on the street, I had to make like a U-turn, but I couldn't because the parking lot was full and there was not one single light. Welcome to Italy. Sometimes we are as well not having the best of things. So I didn't have light, and my car was a small car, a Fiat Cinquecento, the small 500. So it's really a tiny, weeny little Mickey Mouse car.
Yeah.
And the moment I was reversing, I was saying to myself, don't. But I still reversed. And when I reversed, and at one point, I felt this tick, and the car started going backwards and falling into that cliff. This is what I'm telling you. When you are a very good friend of yourself and you ignore when you have alarms within, that's the worst you could do. And that was a big wake up call for myself, because I seem to have forgotten that we're friends, me and myself. So that is, for me, the definition of happiness.
Yes, I agree with you that to define happiness, it is very difficult to define happiness, and it has so many aspects. And I believe that what you are trying also to reveal is to listen to yourself, to be friend with yourself, not to be afraid to stay alone. And I think in these situations of the pandemic, we all learned how to stay alone, how to amuse ourselves, to be friend with ourselves, as you said. So this was really a period of self-discovery, of going deep into yourself, of getting this connection between yourself and with God as well, and to have a spiritual life, and to sit with yourself and discuss that, yes, you can be happy alone, by the way. You can be happy alone. And you can be happy by connecting with people as well. It is up to you. So, so this is quite defining happiness is not an easy thing to do. And you know that it has to do, Larissa, with the stages of life. I believe it is like a U shape. At the age of 23, for example, I was depressed. Then I was happy. Then at the age, at late 30s, I became depressed. Then I was happy, and that's it. But they defined it as a U curve, that it goes up as of the year 50, it starts to go up, up forever. And hopefully this definition is a true definition, because it was written by one of the authors and it was researched and studied. So the age.
So I have to say that I'm in the right age now to go only up.
Some up. Who is 50 now in our audience?
I wanted just to say on what you just said, which is perfectly right, Huda. It's that the biggest, goodest, and best side of the pandemic that we had lately was the fact that it made people really stop completely. Like I know it's not a very nice event. Nevertheless, it was like a wake-up call to everybody to stop really and restudy their values, get in touch with themselves, with their families, start to appreciate the little things that they took so much for granted. And for me, that was my best period, this pandemic, and that's why HAPPYDEMIC came. Yes, it's true, and we're going to have many of those. Not that we have, when we get through this COVID-19, we will be safe forever. We will go through lots of others in our lives. So we need to strengthen our ability and our coping system to be able to face no matter what challenge that will be arising in our path with happiness. Even if it's not a great event, it's a virus that did a lot of death and did a lot of disaster in finance, did a lot of people, many people lost their jobs. I understand that and I appreciate that. I'm one of them as well. I had a job as well and I lost my job. So what do? Do we sit and cry? Or do we say, okay, what can I do from this situation to strengthen myself? Maybe I need to learn many things. Maybe I need to do some self-development. Maybe I need to reevaluate my passion. Where am I good at? What's my meaning for my life? And from that, go further. So for me, it's very important that HAPPYDEMIC, my wish is that it gives a contagion of happiness, because it's only us that we can choose whether to be or not to be happy.
Yeah.
Right? It's in our hands.
Yeah, great. And time is running fast. I have so many questions to ask you. And if there is any question, I will let you know from the live on Instagram. But since happiness is that sweet spot of both of us wants to stop suffering, to stop pain, and to spread happiness. So that's why we are trying to define happiness as much as we can. We are trying to give knowledge and information as much as we can. And let me go to the next question. Can you tell us more, Larissa, about your first book? You have written a first book, Le Savoir Vendre. Your 28 years or more of experience in the sales world and customer relationship management as a corporate executive. Can you tell us a bit about this book as well and about the sales? I just had an episode with Michelle Stridham on sales last week. It was amazing, and it was this topic as well. So what can you elaborate on this topic and your first book?
Actually, we say that Lebanese people are born salespeople. I don't know if that is true. That's a saying. Now, am I a salesperson since my birth? I think I am, actually. And I've always been driven by results and by the fact of serving. I love to serve people and make them happy about giving them satisfaction on their needs, on their wants, on the product they want to buy. So the first book came after 2 years of professor at the Geneva Hotel School in Switzerland, where I did my studies actually at management school. And it was so difficult for me to leave the school and start another life. So I was leaving Switzerland to go for another destination. And the only way I could give a gift or heal for myself this goodbye to my school, I wrote Le Savoir Vendre, which is the selling know-how. It's based on my hospitality, 14 years managing sales and marketing departments in 5-star hotels around the globe. So it's all the keys of success, because there are many things we don't learn in sales in terms of theory. When you are on the ground, there's a huge difference between what you learn and what you apply. So it's all the mistakes and the feedback I got from the trial and error of my experience, and I put them into a very simple 7 steps. Nevertheless, it's a mind-to-mind communication, where in the center, it's the customer's values. It's not what I want to sell, it's what he wants to buy. And that's the difference, in my opinion. It's to learn how to listen rather than talk. So that is my first book.
Okay, great. And so you found out that you fit into the sales capacity, but can you please explain more, how did you saw yourself selling dreams and making them come true? Does this define sales for you?
Yes, because actually when you work in the hospitality industry, you do sell dreams. You know, sometimes you are talking to people that are not in your same country. Even if they see on the internet the way your hotel looks, you still have to make them dream about the stay and the experience that they're going to be going through. So the first thing that I always looked at is, first of all, satisfying the client's needs, what they do need, and get them what they need.
Yes.
After that, I would go into the dream that they have, or the values of this special stay for them compared to another destination or another company. So when I get their values then, and their thinking strategy and decision making strategy, then I tailor make their dream based on what we have to offer. So I always have a say: under promise, over deliver. That was always my motto during my career in the corporate industry, is always to under promise, over deliver. Tell them always less than they expect.
Yes,
And always surprise them with more than they wanted. So that's
a great strategy. Your father was a great writer and a professor of French literature. Tell us more about that, and has writing become hereditary for you, do you think?
My father is my hero. I was so lucky to have him for 2 years as my teacher at school when I was in the secondary. I can say so much about my father. Did I plan to become a teacher or a coach or write? No, I did not. But was I a teacher or a coach since the beginning? Yes, I am. I think I had this within me that maybe he did give it to me. Now, do I have his same knowledge in terms of literature or poetism? Because my father is a poet, he writes poems. He is, for me, the best French speaker I have ever met. So I was in love with the teacher. Forget my father. And he was tough with me actually at class. He used to give me the worst grades because he told me, if I give you good grades, people will think that I'm giving you a special treatment. So you need to prove yourself even more. So I was always having to do even more with him. But that was the great teaching. I really, I'm passionate. I'm so happy to be following his path and be able to create happiness in people following his way of teaching or his values.
Yes. Regarding the term of depression, can you define for us what is depression? How is it diagnosed? What are the different methods to treat it? And I believe you were in severe depression many times throughout your life. So maybe you can elaborate more on this topic, and you maybe tell us your experience about depression.
Okay, so that's a big subject, Hoda. I think we need many of these sessions to talk about depression, because I think there is a misconception about this depression in the world. We say it's a disease. Okay, I don't want to talk about the people who are danger to themselves and they are really maybe having an illness. That I'm talking about all of us human normal who don't have bipolar depression or a depression that is related to a really mental sickness and is dangerous to yourself and to others. I'm talking about us, all of us who have a hectic life, family, children, career, doing many things and forgetting about ourselves and so forth. How many of us who are even listening to us at the moment or who will be listening to us later on didn't pass by a phase where they felt depressed? I call depression is like when you remove the pressure, right? It's like this cooking machine that makes the whole of the pressure inside, and then you depressurize it. It means, for me, depression means that something is not working well within you, something is not okay, somebody has touched your boundary and violated it, or you have gone through something that is not going through in you, and you need to do something about it. That's the way I understand it today. But actually, I hope I would have understood it a long time ago.
Earlier.
So when I was first diagnosed with depression, it was when I was still in Lebanon, due to the war. Obviously, a war depression, we call that, or because of the fear, the uncertainty, the stress, and all the war problems and family and so forth. So I went through, the first time I heard the word, actually, I was 18 years old. They said you're depressed. So when you are not really familiar with what that means at that age, and someone puts in your mind that you're ill, it's a disease, then you believe it. And then you think that, oh my God, I'm sick. And then you think that there's only one way out, it's medication, because that's what they tell you. I think this is a really very sensitive subject. I think we are all facing in one way or another a period of our life where we go through sadness that becomes a bit more acute if we don't handle what's going on in our mind, and we become depressed. But depression means it's your soul that is telling you, wait a minute, there's a wake-up call, attention, I need your attention here. And you need to become connecting within yourself to understand what's going wrong. But then you don't know that. So I went into this depression, very bad experiences, because obviously when we treat depression with medication, it doesn't fit everybody, medication. This is a great subject on its own. Medication can be beneficial for some and can be toxic to others and a killer to others, because sometimes you heal something, but you get something else that doesn't belong to you, like thoughts or behaviors or fears that weren't within you before you took that medication. So it's like a sort of a hiding or putting things above you so you cannot think properly. So there are many ways to heal depression. Again, I say, depends of the history of the person and the environment they lived in, so that it needs to have a chat before we put people onto medication. Personally, I went through several phases of those. So in my book, I write a big chapter about depression, and I write actually all the medication that was given to me and how I got rid of all that, because to me, it was toxic. And I knew it the first moment I put the first pill in my mouth. I knew that would not be healing me. So yeah, so it's a big subject, depression. Lots of us go through feelings of sadness, lack of interest, stressed out, fatigue, many trouble in sleeping, or sleeping too much, or gaining weight or losing weight not attached to your diet, feeling guilty or worthless, or all of us have some of these things. The important is when we learn to connect with each other on our own and understand what the body is telling us, what is not functioning, is to just take this like an observer, I say, and without judgment, and work on it. See what causes it, why do you have it, how can you change it, what do you need, who can help you, what resources, and work with yourself. So for me, depression is a call for help, a call of attention. That is what I see in terms of this, and this is what I wrote in my book. It's my own experience, by the way, yeah? It's not something, by the way, as well, whatever I wrote in that book, it's my, let's say, my journey to salvation.
Soul salvation.
I give loads of options to people. I do not advise anything, because I believe that each person, when they connect with themselves, they know what they need for them to fit them. And there's so much out there. The important is, before you go and jump from a journey to another and apply a technique or another, you need to know what's going on inside, and then take from the techniques you have around you what fits you best. So it's a lot of options. I don't put one formula and that is the formula. I give you an identity, and I called it the M&M's identity, or formula of detox, where there's work on your mind and your emotions, work for nutrition, movement, and sleep. So just to remember it, and I offer you loads of options that personally I have adapted to become the person I am today.
Great. I totally agree with you, Larissa. And you know that sometimes when you have a kind of depression or even lack of interest or lack of energy, sometimes it is a problem in vitamins in your body. Sometimes it is food deficiency. Sometimes it is food tolerance. So if you do this combined approach by yourself without even taking medicine, or, you know, the medicine are scary for me. So just this small diagnosis when you go and do a vitamin deficiency in your body, or do the test of food tolerance, it is all done by blood withdrawal. So maybe this can change your mood and can take you out from depression.
Definitely.
Unless it is something, as you said, something very deep, depression, very rooted, down-rooted. So this is something else.
Yes, it can be related to biochemistry. You can have some neurochemicals, you know, that the happiness chemicals in our mind, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. So
Yes.
it is as well related to our
Hormones.
chemicals. Sometimes we can have some imbalances that we can fix as well with nutrition and with natural things, not necessarily with medication. And
Exactly.
it can be as well sometimes genetic, hereditary in the family,
Yes.
and personality related. Some people who are more vulnerable than other, or can be more affected if they don't learn coping strategies. And definitely environment is as well a big factor. If you are onto violence or abuse, or exposed to any type of discrepancy or intimidation or whatever, you know. So sometimes it's not only a question of sadness because of yourself, how you narrate your story or how you create your own movie in the mind. It can be
Yes.
related deficiencies in vitamins, in genetically, personality. That's why before you say I'm sick, just make sure that you've done the whole work to make sure that it's not
Exactly.
something related to that to a
Exactly.
sickness.
You know, the topic is very broad. We can discuss it more than 1 hour. The genetic thing I discussed also in my book, all the aspect of happiness, it's very generic. So let's now move to the other question. And many techniques you used in your pursuit to happiness, Larissa. Please explain
Yes.
and elaborate more. What is the neuro-linguistic program and how did it help you get out of this depression or to reach your soul salvation and to reach a stage of happiness, of stable happiness, of course?
Okay, as I said, Huda, I have used many techniques. NLP was one of the strongest that made the quickest fixes
Helped you.
for me in the beginning of my self connection or my self diving into myself. I just prepared a small
Yes.
chart here that just gives an idea to people how is the communication model in our mind. So the
Okay.
first thing, obviously, any event happening outside of us, we start thinking about it, right? And we think it through our senses. So either we
Yes.
see, or we hear, or we feel, or we smell, or we touch. So all our senses are involved. It is automatically related to your emotions. So whatever you think, you will feel, and automatically you will behave, and it will be reflecting on your body, and then you will have a behavior or an action or a result, right?
Yes.
And it's a circle. It's a vicious circle. So it's either you start the circle negatively and you have obviously the negative result in the end, or you take control of it and you take it positive. So NLP is a lot to talk about. I just want to give you an analogy that helped me a lot the way I lived NLP.
Larissa,
Take a
can I interrupt you for 1 second? Just to tell Lynn Jim, she's asking Larissa, we can't see you. So I want just to, for the live on Instagram, it is only me showing. And the whole episode will be recorded and posted on my YouTube channel, and also Larissa will have it. Sorry for
Thank
that.
you.
Sorry for that.
No worries at all. So I was telling you that the way I put the analogy is, first of all, we need to understand that how our mind functions to be able to start becoming friends with ourselves. So I
Yes.
give an analogy as a ship. So you have in the ship a captain and a crew, right? In your opinion, who drives the ship? Is it the captain or the crew? So you have many people who say the crew, the other ones would say the captain. So it's the captain. The captain is in charge of the ship and he will direct the crew to the destination, right? So
Yes.
what happens if the captain and the crew are in very bad relationship together? There is no rapport, mutiny at worst,
Yes.
or ship doesn't arrive to destination, or the ship will go and sink.
We sing.
This is our mind. The conscious mind is the captain. So if we aren't aware of things, how can we direct? And the crew is our body and all our memories, and it's all our attitude, experience. It's the hard disk of our computer. And we have everything inside there. So how can we ever be able to arrive to a destination if these two are not working together? So NLP, if you want, the quick fixes that I learned in these techniques, like, for example, understanding how we think and how we can control the thinking, how we can affect our emotional management, how we can change behaviors, change bad habits through hypnotherapy, for example, which is as well a side on NLP use as well hypnotherapy, and be able to remove things that were not working for us, like negative emotions, replacing them by learning. And this learning will take to the future, as well as bad habits, limiting beliefs, limiting decisions. Go to the root cause of these and just let them off by replacing them with the learning. So this is a topic on its own. So neurolinguistic programming, which works on how you neurologically associate events and store them, and how you notice that anything negative that you stored unconsciously, obviously,
yes,
will pop up at one point or the other. And that's what happened to me throughout my life. I had to go through the layers of the onions to reach its center. For as long as I was just in the upper part of my onion, the core was giving me again messages because it was not yet all resolved. So by the time I arrived to this center core and got through this onion, then freedom is there, then mental clarity is there, and then you have the direction of where you want to go.
Yes. Other techniques like timeline or hypnotherapy, how did they help you in your journey, Larissa?
So timeline therapy is, for me, was very helpful. This is Dr. Tad James, who was actually my teacher for NLP. I got my license as an NLP trainer with him the first time, and again with another big guru of NLP, but he names it differently. It's called cognitive behavioral repatterning. His name is Christopher Howard. So both of them were very helpful. Timeline therapy, though, is the creation of Dr. Tad James. It says that we store our memories on a linear basis, right? Like a line virtually. And each one of us has a different way of storing the memories. For example, if you ask me if I had to point my finger where my past would be, I will tell you my past is behind me. Where is my now? It's in me. Where is my future? It's in front of me. So if you want to imagine my timeline goes like this.
Straight moving forward.
Yes. So my forward is in front of me, my past is in the back of me. Some other people have them like that, left and right, or in front of them. It depends of each of us how they store their memories in their minds, right? So then what you do is, if you want to, for example, eradicate a negative emotion from its root, you imagine as if you are detaching from your mind and having your timeline down below you, and you will go to the negative emotion when you first felt that emotion in your life. Now, consciously, you will not be able to answer it maybe because maybe it is in your imprint period when you were a kid. But as much as your mind takes you to, and this is the trust between your conscious and unconscious, the crew will give you a sign. So you will do the work of observing with the eye of the observers, with no judgment, with no thinking, and just noticing what happened, noticing that you are fine and that you are not in that moment, getting the learning of that event, and this is what you will take and put it in your future. So timeline therapy is working about removing negative emotions, limiting decisions, limiting beliefs, etc., and replacing them with the learning. Doing this exercise of disidentification, detaching or dissociation, but a way of flying, you know, like if you are on a plane, you know, and you're looking down on things from above. That's what it is.
Okay. How about
so I worked a lot with timeline therapy. Yes.
How about hypnotherapy?
For me, hypnotherapy, I'm a master practitioner of hypnotherapy. I use it for relaxation, for focus. Okay. I had difficulty to relax and to focus, and hypnotherapy helped me to understand how much you could go with your relaxation deeper and deeper until you are you're still awake, but you are completely relaxed in a way that then we can get the suggestions to our crew, to our unconscious mind, and keep the suggestions to move forward. So this is how I use, and I use it actually in my business coaching sometimes to relax people because they are tense or they are resistant, and you know, sometimes, so it's a way of getting relaxing. People to just move. Yeah,
relaxing.
Yeah.
How was your journey climbing the ladder of success? Was it difficult, full of obstacles? How did you combat all these to reach your destination to success and happiness?
As my story, you know, it
Can you
was
make it
really
brief? A little bit brief, because I have many questions still.
yes. Just as you see my story, it
Yes.
was really a lot of challenges that I welcome and I thank. I am in the great believer of resilience. I think I'm the queen of resilience in my path. Acknowledging what's being aware of it, thanking the event, learning from it, forgiving. That is very important. Is to learn to forgive. First,
Forgive
person you need to
yourself even.
yourself, yeah,
Forgive
because
yourself at first.
yes,
Yes.
and then forgive those who did something to you
Harm
in
you.
your past, and being grateful. So yes, definitely I climbed to the highest successes in my life thanks to all these challenges. And this is what happiness is all about, is being able to surmount all this and look at it with a smile.
Great.
And proud.
Great. Talking about the emotional and mental attitude, you mentioned in your book that these were not taught at school. What do you mean by the emotional and mental attitudes that were not taught at school? In an academic way, they were not taught in an academic way.
Yes, you know, at school we learn so much actually. But we are not familiar with ourselves, like in the sense they don't teach us to take care of ourselves, right? They don't teach. No, I'm not generalizing. Some schools now are getting into this positive thinking habit or emotional intelligence for the children, and I really embrace that and tell them very well done. Because this is where, when you start at that age, if you are able to control and to understand what you are feeling and what you are thinking, and that you can control that and be in charge of it and choose the way you want to think and feel and change the way you look at things, your life will be completely different when you grow, rather than doing it at so much age after that. So I started my personal development self-connection at around 30, because you are busy before, right? You're studying, you're trying, you're working, and you always have the excuse of time. There's no excuses for self-development, and there's no excuses for taking care of yourself. And I think that the schools need to embrace self-development for the children, teaching them positivity, emotional intelligence, management of the emotion, how they can regulate them, rather than this bullying and then, you know, punishment.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. I always believe that, for example, if you are happy at home, you are happy with your family, that's great, but it is not enough. Your family have to teach you how to be happy, to give you the tools to be happy. And not only we are happy at home, but we need that the children grow up knowing how they can make themselves happy. And this applies to schools as well. Not only we learn science, we learn history, we learn geography, but we have to learn the science of life. And this is how to make ourselves happy. And you know, there is a say that don't give me a fish, but teach me how to fish, how to do it. So this is very true. It applies to happiness. So don't just make me happy, but give me the tools to make myself happy. So this would be wonderful if applied at schools as well, in countries and everywhere.
We are lucky, Hoda. We are in a country that believes in happiness, UAE, and you know that His Highness has wrote about happiness a lot, and I think we have a lot that we can take advantage from in our environment, which doesn't exist in other countries, right? Not in all countries. It's an example to follow.
Yes, you know, I wrote my book here in Dubai. I was living, I was living in Vienna, and then we came, me and my husband and my daughter, to Dubai. And I started writing my book here in Dubai because I was really inspired to write so, with all the initiative taken all around us. Let's go to the next question. And sometimes, Larissa, we are ignoring the internal messages that the mind is telling us, or the heart or the body is telling us. And this is at the expense of our own happiness. And as you mentioned, your body was aching at some periods of time, your brain was bursting, and your thoughts were racing and you were totally confused. So how can one be ignoring these signs? Can you tell us more on this?
Actually, I'm the best example of the person who didn't listen to the intuition and ignored my inner voice at many stages in my life. When I was depressed, my mind was telling me what was not working and I should have taken care of at several stages, and then I did. So your body and your mind tell you what they exactly need. Food, exercise, what type works for you, what type doesn't work for you. We have all the resources we need inside us. The thing is, we need to hush all this racing mind that we have and trust our crew. Trust that we work together, conscious and unconscious, the awareness with the crew, to get ourselves always on the healthy part. And the best example I told you, I defied again my mind 2 years ago when it told me not to go that in the car, not to go in that road, and I still did it. So we need to follow our intuition. We need to listen to our inner voice. It's there to guide us. So I think we shouldn't underestimate. We shouldn't look at the secondary gains because we will pay for it. We will pay with pain. I think when we are confused and stressed out, we tend to worry about listening to it because it's not the right moment. I don't have time for this. So we always find the excuse of time. Or we are worried to open this box. You know, what is going to be inside that box? Ooh, am I ready to face it? Yeah. So our inner voice is our friend. And there is no time to waste crying. There is no time to waste living. Life is worth it. And it's essential to not waste it, not waste a second of it. It's precious. So if it's telling you stop and listen to me, or stop and slow down, stop and slow down. If it's telling you this food is not good for you, don't eat it. If it's telling you you need to discuss with your husband because the relationship is not going well, you need to discuss with your, whatever is happening in you, listen, yes, and do something about it.
Yes, to connect with your inner self is really crucial.
Yes.
So there are many types of self-therapy you discussed in your book, like the quantum physics, the Faraday, power of focus, disassociation techniques. Can you tell us or explain in brief 2 of these techniques that you would like to discuss today with our audience, and tell them how it can help them in their journey to happiness?
Yes, I can choose 2 of them. Actually, I've given a few options in the book. I choose the power of now, Eckhart Tolle, that for me was my one of my best mentors in the biggest burnout I did 10 years ago, further following a big grief in my family. And power of now was the click, like we say in French, I like click, you know, like it is bringing you back to now and telling you the present moment is what counts. And it made real sense when I made my accident. Even though I was practicing what he was saying, but it didn't make the click down there deeply until this accident. It is about, you can't do anything about the past. You just can learn from it and grow from it, right? And move on. Yeah. What you can do is now. What we can change is now, in the present. How can we bring our racing mind to the now? Simply acknowledging we are thinking and we have a racing thoughts going on, stop them, hush them. Like, you know, the sign of stop when you go on traffic light and you see the red light, what do you first do? You stop, you brake, stop, breathe. And focus on the breathing. Focus on looking what's around you and noticing, I don't know, a flower, you're drinking, sip your coffee, enjoy touching something. So bring back your attention to the present exact moment and do what you need to do now. Then you build tomorrow. It's not worth it to spend your time crying for yesterday, worrying about tomorrow, which is emptying you from your strength of today. And today, it's gone. And you open your eyes and then you say, oh my God, I spent my life worrying about yesterday and planning for tomorrow. And I didn't even enjoy or experience what is going on in my life now. So it's not who you are that is holding you back. It is what you think you are not. So I think this is very important that we acknowledge that we are doing the best we can. And we need to, you know, sometimes reward ourselves for that.
To hug ourselves.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right. The other one is Farah Darmani, and I have to tell you that this is the technique that got me off my medication.
great.
Farah Darmani is an Iranian school of thought that believes or connects you into the inter-universal consciousness, which means what indirectly? With the source, which means what? Our God, which means your direct connection with a deep silence where you abandon yourself completely with no thoughts, and you make this stop thinking, or you drop below thinking, and you just transcend by connection, by letting just whatever comes to you, whatever is happening at the moment, you are just doing this connection. You just acknowledge it without judgment. You observe as a witness, and then things will be revealed to you, because there's a scan of your body, and whatever is not working in any of your organs, it will come. How? Depends on people. Some people comes with rushes, some other people sadness, other people just the event itself. So it comes with different ways to you, to make you understand what you asked for without asking, because you ask and he knows what you need. So, and then you work on it. And this is where doing this 1.5 years of Farah Darmani every week with this amazing coach I have for this, I succeeded alone to abandon medication completely.
So it is kind of an alternative medicine. It's a treatment or kind of alternative medicine.
Alternative medicine where nobody is doing anything with you. You are just having a guide that's taking you through a process. Then you do it on you. There is no touching, there is no medicine, there is no external thing used on you. It's your mind and the universe.
Yes. To connect you, to connect the conscious to the universe.
That's correct.
Yes, to the interconscious of the universe. Well, Larissa, time flew by. I have one question to ask you before we wrap. We both agreed that we can't make any shift from our state, from being sad to being happiness, but through ourselves. So do you have any kind of a technique or a training that we can make now in the episode quickly, or any quick tip that we can use and that people can apply immediately for immediate result?
Definitely. We are the architects of our destiny. We are the architects of our lives. And it depends on us, as I say, when we can control, to make the change we want to see in ourselves, right? We want to be the change that we want to see in others too.
Yes.
There's one simple technique that always followed me wherever I was, is looking for a smiley. A smile. Yes. Can you tell me where you can see a smile or a smiley? For example, now in your
environment, on the mobile, in the back of your book here.
That's right. Anywhere. You can design it, you can draw it, you can imagine it, you can just visualize it, you can make it on the glass, you can draw it on a paper, whatever. Is turn this negative, whatever is happening or challenging situation, into a learning, into a smile, into a growth. I'm moving on. It's okay. Everything will be okay. And things will be better every day if I keep on doing it, right? It's a question of commitment. If you want to, in anything, right? If you want to achieve something, you need to commit. If you do not commit 100%, you have a secondary gain and you will not achieve it. So in my opinion, the best is, first of all, is identify what is not working well, learning, moving on. And remember, always be happy. Life is priceless. Priceless.
Yes, I agree. Let's
and I have a question for you. Why do you want to always ask me questions? Can I ask you a question?
Sure, Larissa.
Or you want to do the question answers of the public before? Tell me how you want to manage it.
Yes, go ahead.
How do you dare to be happy?
Wow. Great question, Larissa. And thank you very much for the question. Well, I have so many points really to make me dare to be happy. Like, I dare to be happy not because everything is perfect, but I dare to be happy because I decided to look at the bright side of things. I decided to look at positive within the negative. I decided to grab the opportunity in the situation or in the event. For example, we had this pandemic. I really trained myself to look at the positive side. I upgraded myself in the technical side of my business. I got certified in the science of happiness during the pandemic. I got connected more with my family. I got connected more with my friends. I made sure to learn all new techniques and the new way of doing business on the internet. Larissa, I dare to be happy really because I can only see beautiful things around me. I can see the beautiful side from the people around me, from the situation around me, from the events around me. I dare to be happy, Larissa, because I progress every day. I consider myself a work in progress. Every day I learn something new, and every day I discover myself more. I dare to be happy, Larissa, because I live up to my values. I live up to my dreams. I'm not taking somebody else's dream. I'm living up to my dreams, up to my values, up to my beliefs, up to my intuition. I dare to be happy, of course, because I always try to be authentic and to live my true self. And above all, I have a fruitful relationship with God, the spiritual side, if we can say. And that's the most important thing. And I live in harmony with what I say, what I do, and who I really am. And I think that's it. The formula is very simple for me, is to live up to your value and to have a mind that have decided to look only at the bright side of life, at the bright side of the events. And thank you very much, Larissa, for the great question. And thank you for being here.
For the great additional knowledge.
Yes, and thank you for connecting with me today. And I hope we have revealed to the audience the secret of happiness, how to train ourselves and how to reach the sustainable and continuous path of happiness, and give them a lot of information about the techniques and the methods one can use and train himself to be consistently and eternally happy. Thank you again, Larissa. And have
Are there any questions we need to answer? You said you had questions we need to answer, or that's fine?
Another question?
No, I said, do you have any questions someone asked we need to answer, or it's
no,
fine?
because the live is now off. It is only 1 hour. Now we are making more than 1 hour. At the end, maybe I would like to mention something you told me yesterday when we had the preparation Zoom meeting. You told me about we both are talking the same thing. So you admire the courage that
definitely I admire that we can only be stronger together, and and the more we are doing this spreading of happiness to people, or techniques to be able to build resilience, to be taking care of themselves and be in a well-being state, it can only help our world and our tomorrow's world and our children's world. And this is, I'm very keen for that. For me, it's very important that we build something good for our children. And I really appreciate that you invited me on your episode, and that we are working together on the same amazing and very passionate topic for me is happiness.
Yeah, thank you, Larissa. I totally agree with you. Just I want to add one thing to this, to what you said, is that we complement each other. I mean, I believe that in books and in the writing world, there is no competition. If you read one book, maybe you will be encouraged to read the other book. Sometimes you are not ready for a book, and other time you are ready to read the other book. So they both complement each other. You read something on happiness today, maybe tomorrow you want to read something else, or to make a further research about happiness. And at the end, I believe that there is no one solution for all that can fit for all, but we just show the audience a lot of technique, a lot of approaches, and at the end of the day, we give the knowledge, the information, and everybody is completely free to choose the method, the way to reach a stable journey of happiness based on his own characteristic, his own personality, and his own lifestyle. Thank you very much. And we took more than 1 hour. That's great. Have a great day. And bye, Larissa. Thank you.
See you soon. Thank you.